what's that over there? Is that the character you haven't written any lore for yet? Just a name and a vague idea of who they are? Oh, okay. In last week's video, we went over character design, and I had mentioned that an important part of designing a character that's often overlooked is lore. Lore is kind of like the foundation of a character. If you have a hard time building that quote-unquote foundation of a character, aka the lore, then be sure to stick around and watch the rest of the video, as I'll be going over some helpful tips on how to make lore. I am going to be going over Mimzy's lore, how I created it, the process I go through while creating lore, and I will also be creating some lore of Mimzy on the spot, completely unscripted, so you will definitely be able to hear the gears turning in my head as I try to figure out how the dots can connect. And I really hope that you have a fun time with it, because I know I will. I do just want to mention again, just as last week, that I will be talking over through this whole speed paint, so if you do want to mute me and just watch my art come to life, then that's perfectly fine, and I'm still so happy to have you here. And if you do like this video, then please subscribe and leave me a like. It really helps drive me to continue and make more videos next week. Okay, let's move on. So let's jump right into Mimzy's lore, and I'm going to be completely honest. I am going to give you a piece of advice that I myself have not taken, but this is a learn from my mistakes moment, okay? So I would definitely suggest you writing down your character's lore somewhere, anywhere. It doesn't have to be extensive, like, oh, and then she said this, and her father-in-law's brother's pet cat was doing this at that exact second. Like, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that you have maybe even bullet points, just little words that will click in your head. It only has to make sense to you. You don't have to be doing a PowerPoint on this for anyone. And with that being said, I did not do that. There's not a single word written down on the face of this planet related to Mimzy's lore. It is all completely in my head. Even though Mimzy's lore may not be written down, don't worry, I have the credentials for this. I absolutely love creating lore for characters. I create worlds. It's called world building. I create worlds just for fun. I had this one world I made in high school where it had several different kingdoms, each with different cultures, different religious beliefs, different holidays, different heroes or, idols that their people looked up to, different hierarchies, and different species, because I love fantastical worlds. Everything fantasy, it's in my blood. I love it. Hi, sorry. Editing Mimzy here. It took me forever, but I have found proof of this world. It got thrown away. It was in this random notebook, and I am pretty sure that I threw it away with all my other school supplies, but I have found proof. This was one of my many career pages. So just look at how insane I was. I don't know, this is so fun to me. Okay, we can move on now. So with that being said, you can very much best bet that Mimzy's lore is very much fantastical, and I can't wait for you to get into it. And please let me know in the comments if you think that maybe something doesn't make sense, or maybe something is there that I can expand upon, or if you get ideas for your own characters. I would love to hear about anything related to lore in my comments. I will indulge everyone. So let's start with what I think is one of the more prominent features in Mimzy, her blackened right arm. Originally, this was actually something that belonged to a character outside of Mimzy, and her name is Seraphina. And I moved that onto Mimzy, but how Seraphina and how Mimzy got this exact scar is completely different. I just really like the placement and the look of it. So to cut it short, I'm going to be very brief about it, but if you do want more details, if you want me to go more in length about Mimzy's backstory, I have lots I could talk about, so please let me know if you want a video dedicated to specifically Mimzy's lore. So, how Mimzy got her blackened arm was a bad mage found her, transferred a curse onto her that eats her mana, and that began to kill her, and because she lives off of her mana, she's a vampire. And then a human mage found her, transferred all of her mana into a stone, found out that she needed that mana to live, and took a small portion of it and put it into the skull on her chest, put it as close as close to her heart as he could, you know? So that's why the curse is still there. It may not have any mana to feed off of, but there is just a little bit that it can kind of be a little bit of a leech on her arm. So in order to pay back this human mage, she decided to dedicate a part of her life to his bloodline, promising to protect his family for many years. However, generation after generation, there's so many children just looking at her with disdain and distrust, and she doesn't understand, you know, like she's here to help you, why are you looking at me like that? So she realizes by studying the children that they're more willing to give love to inanimate objects, such as stuffed animals, than they are to her, so she decides to mimic one. One of the children at the time really loved this plush bunny. She would take it everywhere with her, and Mimzy took note of that and began to make some really, you know, maybe they're poorly made, you know, adds a little bit of charm. They don't have the best stitching, but they're these giant fluffy bunny ears. And now with these giant silly bunny ears, she doesn't look so serious, so the children are more willing to approach her. So now with that said, you know why she has a blackened arm, why she wears that skull on her chest, and why she has bunny ears. So while they all might seem like design choices from the outside, they all actually have meaning, and that makes the character so much more interesting, because as you look at it, you start to wonder, oh, what could this be connected to, or what could this be connected to? It makes you want to hear more. Lore is incredibly, like, you could dive really deep into it. You could give everything meaning. But, you know, not everything has to have meaning. Like, I didn't really give meaning to the skull clips on her head. I just thought it would make the, you know, it'd make her more balanced because she has one on her chest. So you don't have to give every piece of accessory, you know, some lore, but giving it to a few, it creates now 2 layers to your character. You have the exterior for viewers to appreciate and interior for viewers to appreciate, and that's what takes your design from a simple sketch to an intricate character. So moving on to the next segment, we have inspirations. So just like last video where I recommended to go to Pinterest, you can also go to Pinterest for this topic as well. There's many images that prompt questions, which can help direct you in where to go, or even just where to start in your lore. It can be really intimidating because you're literally building a world from scratch, you're building a whole human from scratch, and so you may not know where to start, but on Pinterest you can find images just like these, where it will give you a bunch of questions, and you can choose to answer only a few, or you can choose to answer all of them. And as you're going through it, you may realize that you want to go back and edit some of your earlier answers because you can create a connection with your current question, and that's when you know that you're on the right path, because you do want your things to connect. This is one person in one person's life, and all of their decisions and all of their experiences are going to affect later decisions. It's just how we are in real life. We learn our lessons. So you do want that to reflect in your character in order to create human depth. And now this is going to connect into the next segment of putting it all together. So you may have a bunch of different questions answered, and it's going to all just look like random pieces of information, and now you're going to need to weave them into a web. And that can be very difficult. So in order to give a raw example of weaving together random pieces of information, I've asked a friend to answer 3 random questions on the sheet that I showed you earlier, and these are the answers that I was given. So we have somebody who lives at the top of a New York high-rise, has had a bully since elementary, consistent in the way that they bullied, and who just wants justice and fairness. So say you have such vague information and you need to fill in some gaps in order to actually create the story. You just have these things that you know that you want into your character. So I don't have an appearance, I don't have a gender, I don't have any type of personality, but I can create one with what I have. So I want the gender of this character to be male. Not for any particular reason, but I'm just going straight off of the vibes I get from this character, as that's the easiest way to create lore. So I believe the reason that he strives for justice is due to the lack of justice he saw in his childhood, as he had a consistent bully who would not allow him to do the things he want, even though it was a public playground and he very well should have. So he had to sit back and watch all the other children enjoy something that he did not get to just because one person decided that he shouldn't. As a result of him being so zoned in onto the idea of justice, he very clearly went into the law force, as that's a very easy, justice career. He could have either been a lawyer, a cop, or a judge, but either one of those would likely have given him enough money to live at the top of a New York high-rise, so I believe that's why he is where he is now. I know it's not a particularly interesting character that I just made, but you were able to see in live time unscripted exactly how I was able to connect all those dots. And I think that it does make sense. So as long as your story makes sense and you like it, that's really all that matters. If other people decide to ask questions, then you can choose to answer or you can leave them questioning. It's really your choice about that. But now, I mean, that was, an unscripted lore, but I want to get into unscripted Mimzy lore because it's something I'm more passionate about, and I think I can give you a more interesting example. And plus, having multiple examples is just helpful in general. So let's get into the fourth segment real quick. So just like on the previous segment where I had an image of character questions, I found another image, but it's a lot more in depth and it has 27, I believe, bullet points of questions for me to go through. I'm not going to go through all of them because that would be too much, so I'm probably just going to have Google roll like 3 random numbers and I'll answer those questions in chronological order, and I'll show you in real time how this plays out in my head, and hopefully we can make lore that makes sense because, lore really needs to be structured and a lot of time needs to be taken on it, and I'm definitely going to have to rush through this. If I end up only getting 1 bullet point done, then it should be at least, very in-depth. So we'll see how this goes. So we just need the generator to give us 3 numbers, and we're going to put them off to the side, and then one by one I'm going to attempt to connect the questions to Mimzy's lore accurately. And so let's try our hand. Hopefully we don't get anything too crazy. So, okay. Number 14, 5, and 7. Okay, so a lot of low numbers, but that is okay. So we're gonna start right away with the first one, which was number 14, and it's this one right here. However, it looks like number 14 and number 13 kind of play off of each other, so I'll be pretty vague with number 13 and try to build it off of 14. So what external forces or enemies does the character contend with? Obviously it would be anyone who tries to attack the family, and how do these external conflicts shape the character's journey? So I would imagine that this portion of her life where she serves this family because, she was caught by the mage at a young age, this is likely the beginning of her coming into her powers, but she is without her mana, so it's definitely a little bit screwed. So she is learning to be strong with the small amount of mana that the mage has left her with. So I would say these fights that she encounters with the people or the mages who intend to attack the family help her learn to control her mana and make use of the small amounts that she has. Maybe she even has strong spells that she has created that don't use a lot of mana. Because obviously you have to use mana to use spells, and she doesn't have a lot, so that means that she can't use big spells. That means that she has to have small spells that are big hitters. So she's probably very good at making traps, catching enemies when they're off guard or low on mana themselves, good at physical attacks, and yeah, maybe that's a big thing for her because vampires are powerful with magic, but maybe she's a little bit of an oddball because she has been having to focus on physical attacks. Sure, we'll add that in. That'll work. Okay, now on to number 5. Does the character have any secrets they are hiding? Okay. Well, let's think about it. Mimzy is the only vampire in a human household. She has to protect these humans for generations. She's traumatized from getting close to too many people who die on her. So she's, locked her heart out to the humans. Maybe her secret is that she actually hasn't locked her heart out and she does still show real care for these humans. Because she obviously protects them, she's around them all the time. So of course she's gonna hold some kind of endearment for them. And she actually does hold these humans really close to her heart. And so she's actually really does like humans and finds it hard to fight the mages because, obviously the family that she protects is also mages, so she kind of sees them in them, you're protecting humans but then you're fighting humans, and it's really conflicting for her. So I think secretly she actually doesn't like killing humans, so she doesn't kill the human mages, she just really injures them or just really scares them. Yeah, I think that's a really good secret. She will go out when people are attacking being like, oh, I got this, don't worry guys, and then really she's panicking oh my god, how am I gonna get them to go away? I don't know, it seems like a little funny contradiction in her. Now, number 7. I'm actually rather excited for this one because as soon as I saw it, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. What does the character do in their free time? So you know how Mimzy has those giant stuffed bunny ears? She could take them off. What if she makes stuffed animal ears of all different animals? Like, what if she has cat ears, bear ears, reindeer antlers? I don't know. Like, whatever kid that she's taking care of at that time, she adapts herself to their favorite stuffed animal so that they like her more. I think that would be pretty cute. But I think that she just likes the bunny ears more because they're the original and they reflect the first child who ever showed her compassion. Okay, so that is all of the on-the-spot lore. So we have her being a big physical attacker due to her lack of mana, her liking to avoid killing humans because of her love for the family that she protects, and her weird habit of sewing different animal ears for her to wear so that the humans like her more. So I think that that's some of it is actually really important to her character, such as the physical and the not liking to kill humans. That could be a really big part of her, as you know, those are things that actively affect her daily. I think the animal ears is just a little bit of something that she does on the side, and you know, to add more to it, maybe she even decorates them. I don't know. I think that that's a cute thing that I could expand upon for like just some little side story thing. But the other two are actually really big pieces, and I do think that they fit her character really well, so I'm glad that I could add that to her backstory. Anyway, I had a lot of fun with this video. I hope you had a lot of fun with this video, and I'm really glad to have had you here. And I kind of hope to do another lore video in the future, because answering these questions about Mimzy, you know, I just really love lore, okay? This is so fun for me. So I really hope that you were able to pick up something from this video, and if you do want me to do more videos on Mimzy's lore, then, you know, just feel free to let me know, because I would be more than willing. But in the future, I am, like maybe next week, I am hoping to do a either a character design challenge or maybe just chatting over a speed paint of Mimzy's reference sheet, as I am trying to work on that. But I am struggling with Clip Studio Paint. I've never used it before. I am fumbling around with it, so maybe I'll do a video of me fumbling around with Clip Studio Paint, because it is ridiculous how bad I am at this program. Okay, anyway, I am so glad to have had you here, and please subscribe and like if you did like this video, and if you want to see more of me, then I will be around. Anyway, yeah, thank you for clicking on this video. Bye! And I hope you... Are you so serious?